We all have pain. We all have sorrow. But if we are wise, we know that there's always tomorrow. See it? Lean on me, yeah. When you're not strong, and I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on, for it won't be long till I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. You just call on me, brother, when you need a friend. We all need somebody to lean. That's it. Yeah, I just might have a problem that you understand. Sing it. We all need somebody to lean on. Okay. So you're all here with me, right? Yeah. We are all friends. Yeah. We can all lean on each other. Yeah. Are you ready to celebrate? Yeah. Are you ready to dance? Yeah. Are you ready to live life? Yeah. Right. Hit it, Ed. All the pressure. This is the beauty of community, right? It feels like such a party just being with each other in the room. Okay. Sure. I call you when I need you. My heart's on fire. You come to me wild and wild. When you come to me, give me everything I need. In your lifetime, promises in a world full of dreams. Speak the language of love like you know what it means. And it can't be wrong. Take my heart and make it strong. Are you ready? 'Cause we're simply the best. We're better than all the rest. Better than anyone I've ever met. I'm stuck on your heart. I hang on every word you say. Tear us apart. Baby, I would rather be dead. Your heart is God every night, every day. In your eyes, I get lost, I get washed away. Just as long as I'm here in your arms, I can be in no better place. Why? 'Cause we're simply the best. We're better than all the rest. We're better than anyone I've for me just being here. Can I have a couple of people join me for this next one? If you know how to shake it, yes. All right. I want to quote our dear friend Raoul before. Raoul said, it is an offense to call himself normal. He is offended to be called normal because we each are so passionate about what we want to do to change this world. And sometimes that can look a bit crazy. Do you think we're all a little bit crazy? Okay, great. Hit it, Ed! It's coming. That's it. All right. I remember when I lost my mind. Yeah, there was something so precious about that place. Even those emotions had an echo in so much space. A little bit more music, please. And when you're out there without a care, yeah, I was out of touch. Yeah, and it wasn't because I didn't know enough. That's it, get the shoulders. I just knew too much. So what does that mean? Well, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Just like me. Yeah. And I hope that you are having the time of your lives. Think twice. That's my only advice. And when you're out there without a care, yeah, I was out of touch. And it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I like that. Let's do that. I just knew too much. That's it. Yeah. Maybe you're crazy. Sing it. Maybe we're crazy. That's it, quick on. Maybe we're crazy. Possibly. My heroes have the heart to live that life I wanna live. On the other way now? Okay. Just thinking, I wanna be like them. Hey, should we do a conga line? Who do you think you are? Let's start it. Conga line. So, one line. Hey. Oh, one last time. Well, maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Probably. Oh, maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Maybe we're crazy. Probably. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of the celebration.
Sorry.
Is that amazing or what? Okay, well, I think that definitely set a high tone for this event, huh? Okay, good. Well, I'm happy that you guys are all here. So I wanted to invite you all to this event because we're here for human rights, right? That's what we're all here for. So This event is all about multicultural celebration, and we're all here, we're all from different places all around the world, but we all have one thing in common, and that is human rights, and that we're all here for the same purpose. So I want to thank you all for being here. So, if you wouldn't mind just turning off your ringers and your phones, that would be very, very much appreciated. So I'll let you guys take a moment to do that now. Okay, so today we take a look at human rights, what they are, what the term actually means, and how to make human rights a reality. In fact, the majority of the world's population does not even know what human rights are and that they are entitled to them. And I want to first introduce a very special guest today who is really fighting for human rights in this community here in Harlem. And that means a lot to us, and we're very honored to have her here. So please help me welcome Queen Mother of Harlem.
I want to say to my dear beloved sister, I think we honored her at the UN. You notice that I never mentioned her name. I don't think you ever heard me mention her name. She doesn't have a name. When you give to so many, you don't need a name. And I want her to remember that as you young people that I'm so proud of, that you were placed in my sister's care. She is a nurturer. She doesn't know that I reflected on her early this morning at 3 o'clock. And the vision came to me that I must join her because she spoke to me at the UN about coming from the heart. Sometimes we speak to each other from the heart. And that's what she did for Queen Mother. And so Queen Mother had to be with you for a short moment. What I would like to leave as you have arrived in a space, in a village, in a community, in a city, and a royal court. The royal court is Harlem. Harlem is renowned all over the planet Earth as Queen Mother represented Harlem at the United Nations about 55 years ago. And when you think of Harlem, who has been to the Royal Court of Harlem? Some you may know, and others you probably will never know, but they've been here. A woman, a lady, she couldn't get enough of Harlem. Lady Di of the UK. She came to meet with our mothers in Harlem for guidance and advice in Harlem quietly. And when I think of her son, where you're at, on 125th Street, which is now Martin Luther King Boulevard. The name is 125th Street. Martin Luther King Boulevard. There's a young man like yourselves continue to come to the Royal Court of Harlem. And that is little Harry. Harry comes because his mother came. And you will continue to come because my sister came. You will continue to honor and respect Harlem. You've been introduced to Harlem. Many come to Harlem, so it's such an honor today to have you in Harlem. On the time that the United Nations is speaking of the summit we want, or the summit of the future, we can twist it any way we want. As the queen mother of hip hop, you're more interested in that. Boogie down the Bronx in New York. Bronx is not that far from Harlem. And I'm the queen mother of hip hop. So I want you, when Queen Mother has left, pull out your little phone. That's your high tech. And you're on the super highway. I want you to pull it out and find the 50th anniversary at Yankee Stadium last year. And hear what Queen Mother did to cool her, the king of hip hop, and Sydney, the queen of hip hop, which I instilled them from my Royal Court of Harlem. Many come to Harlem. Most of your head of state have been to Harlem, to 125th Street. Many of them come to us. It's a new day, and we have invited the youngest president in the world from Senegal. He'll be coming to Harlem in September. He doesn't have no other choice. If he's looking for Queen Mother, he has to come to the Royal Court of Harlem to find her. I'm sure that some of you may be Catholicism or Catholic, based on countries in my visiting in the world, Latin American countries in particular, I will speak of. The Pope, Francis of Assisi, has been to Harlem when he first came to the United Nations in the Latin American community here in Harlem, because the largest group of Catholicism or Catholics are Latin America. So he had to come to Harlem to be with his parishioners in Harlem. And so he came. Many popes have been to Harlem. Many nobilities have been to Harlem. And by the way, right down the street here, about 2 or 3 blocks away from Radio City, right now, he's now the King of England, Charles. I've been to Harlem. Everybody comes to Harlem for the culture. And when I saw the young lady from Australia was leading us in dance and singing all over the place, she must go to the Apollo Theater so we can tell her she knows what she is doing. She has mastered her skills and song and dance for us. Where is she? Where is the pro? Oh, can you come over here? Queen Mother gonna give you some homework. If you don't think that I can boogie down. Only one can boogie down up in here. Queen Mother will do the same with you. So what's up? And she knows what we do. We call him that drop the mic. We have to do this. After you drop the mic in the culture from the hip hop world, then you have to throw up something for the young people that have gone to the Olympics to represent us. And I will see some of them when I get to France, and I'm going to put a sign up for the work that you all are doing around human rights. Sport youth representing the United Nations, the word is, come on, peace.
Everyone do it. Come on.
Peace. 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 Human rights will bring about peace. And we all benefit from human rights. Fairness, justice, kindness, love, caring for one another. That will bring about the word what? Peace. 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 As I take my seat, we welcome you to Harlem. And you always have a home here within our community. We, Mother, will inform the community that you are here in a quiet way, but in an educational way. Learn as much as you can from each other. Learn it. And once you learn it, then you share it. Share it with the world. And you are making a difference for the summit of the future. I want you to do one thing for Queen Mother. Stay on the sacred path of life. And don't get off of it, and don't look back. Stay on this sacred path. As Queen Mother now leave you to go join the other youth in the world. So Queen Mother say to all of you, I love you, I adore you, and I'm going to give you a little advice from time to time, but I want you to give me advice and the other elders advice intergenerational as you shape the world you want. And blessings upon all of you. Your higher selves, your reflection as I travel the world.
Thank you very much. Well, that was quite a welcome, I must say. Have you all arrived in Harlem? the majority of the world's population does not know what human rights are, and that they are entitled to them. So I will say the evidence is in the number of violations being carried out the world over. By way of example, in May 2022, the number of people forced to flee conflict, violence, human rights violations, and persecution has surpassed 100 million. An estimated 41% of people forcibly displaced worldwide were children. If that is not bad enough, an estimated 1.5 million primary school children are trafficked around the world annually, and another 171 million, most under the age of 15, work in hazardous conditions. For more than 40 years, Scientologists and the Church of Scientology have championed the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. In 1969, L. Ron Hubbard reprinted the Universal Declaration of Human Rights in the Church's Freedom magazine and wrote, quote, "The United Nations came up with the answer. An absence of human rights stained the hands of governments and threatened their rules. Very few governments have implemented any part of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. These governments have not grasped that their very survival depends utterly upon adopting such reforms and thus giving their peoples a cause, a civilization worth supporting, worth their patriotism." Inspired by Mr. Hubbard's words that human rights must be made a fact, not an idealistic dream, Scientologists support what has become the largest non-governmental human rights initiative in all the world to educate and raise awareness of our rights internationally. And so to begin, I would like to give you an insight into the greater humanitarian efforts of which United for Human Rights and Youth for Human Rights play a vital role. And here it is. Thanks to the support from the Church of Scientology, we at United for Human Rights are able to provide resources to educators, community leaders, and people such as yourself with the desire to make human rights a reality. The educational program for both United for Human Rights and Youth for Human Rights begin with the Story of Human Rights booklets. This booklet includes the full text of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and its historical background. Each student gets their own copy so they can easily follow along in class. The Youth for Human Rights version contains an illustrated rendition of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which makes for easier comprehension. Both sets of booklets are available in 17 languages, and as many as 300,000 are distributed each year in some 70 countries. Then, to bring each article to life, a series of educational public service announcements, or PSAs, were produced, depicting all 30 human rights, and so titled, 30 Rights, 30 Acts. You may have seen these award-winning presentations playing in our Public Information Center when you entered today. Each deliver a powerful 30-second message that can be played across multiple media platforms. In fact, they are translated into 17 languages, and they have aired in over 100 countries. And this one is directly applicable today, so I wanted to play it for you now, and here it is.
I'm Chinese.
I am Russian.
I am East African.
I'm Canadian.
I am Filipino.
I am Irish.
I am Bulgarian. Korean.
I am American. I am Brazilian.
Italian.
Mexican. I'm British.
Swedish.
French.
I'm Israeli.
Japanese.
We are mankind.
The short documentary, The Story of Human Rights, is the feature of both educational programs. It presents to those of all ages a brief journey through the history of human rights, culminating in the signing of the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The award-winning film is widely used by teachers, activists, and others, and it has been aired on major TV networks across the United States, Europe, Africa, and Asia. So for our next presentation this afternoon, I would like to play for you The Story of Human Rights.
Human rights is, geez, that's a good question.
Human rights. Oh, that's tough.
Wow.
What's really good?
I don't even know how to give that a definition.
I would probably have to do a little bit of homework or something.
Any right that I think just as a normal, human,
The rights that humans have.
this is going long 2 days.
Te tú le puedes preguntar a 20 personas y te van a dar 20 diferentes opiniones.
Non saprei, è una domanda complicatissima.
We just take for granted that they're there, but we don't even consider what they are.
Human rights are the rights you have simply because you're human. It's how you instinctively expect and deserve to be treated as a person, like the right to live freely, to speak your mind, and to be treated as an equal. There are many kinds of rights. Most apply to a certain group. But human rights are the only ones that apply to absolutely everyone, everywhere. That means kids, old people, poor people, basketball players, garbage men, rappers, teachers, Africans, Indians, Albanians, Christians, Muslims, Kabbalists, atheists, your mom, your dad, your next door neighbor, and you all have the exact same human rights. In other words, they're universal. But the question remains, what are they?
Name the human rights?
What the human rights are?
The right to live,
equality between all people.
Right to religion, the right to...
Is there supposed to be a list somewhere I should be aware of?
According to the United Nations, there are a total of 30 human rights, which are usually lumped together and called simply human rights. They're all listed out in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which is the world's most widely accepted document on the subject. But it was a long time in coming. At first, there were no human rights. If you were in with the right crowd, you were safe. If you weren't, you weren't. But then a guy named Cyrus the Great decided to change all that. After conquering Babylon, he did something completely revolutionary. He announced that all slaves were free to go. He also said people had the freedom to choose their religion, no matter what crowd they were a part of. He documented his words on a clay tablet known as the Cyrus Cylinder. And just like that, human rights were born. The idea spread quickly to Greece, to India, and eventually to Rome. They noticed that people naturally followed certain laws, even if they weren't told to. They called this natural law, but it kept getting trampled on by those in power. Not until 1,000 years later in England did they finally get a king to agree that no one can overrule the rights of the people, not even a king. People's rights were finally recognized, and they were now safe from those in power. Kind of. It still took a bunch of British rebels declaring their independence before the king got the point that all men are created equal. Which isn't to say he liked the idea, but he couldn't stop them, and America was born. The French immediately followed with their own revolution for their own rights. Their list was even longer, and they insisted that these rights weren't just made up. They were natural. The Roman concept of natural law had become natural rights. Unfortunately, not everyone was so thrilled. In France, a general named Napoleon decided to overthrow the new French democracy and crown himself emperor of the world. He almost succeeded, but the countries of Europe joined forces and defeated him. Human rights was again a hot topic. They drew up international agreements, broadly granting many rights across Europe, but only across Europe. The rest of the world somehow still didn't qualify. Instead, they got invaded, conquered, and consumed by Europe's massive empires. But then a young lawyer from India decided enough was enough. His name was Mahatma Gandhi, and in the face of violence, he insisted that all people on Earth had rights, not just in Europe. Eventually, even Europeans started to agree. But it wasn't going to be that easy. 2 world wars erupted. Hitler exterminated half the Jewish population of Earth in horrifying Nazi death camps. And all told, 90 million people died. Never had human rights been so terrifyingly close to extinction. And never had the world been more desperate for change. So the countries on Earth banded together and formed the United Nations. Their basic purpose was to reaffirm faith in fundamental human rights, in the dignity and worth of the human person. But what were human rights? Were they the proclamations of Cyrus, the natural laws of Rome, the declarations of France? Everyone seemed to have a slightly different idea of what human rights should be. But under the supervision of Eleanor Roosevelt, they finally agreed on a set of rights that applied to absolutely everyone. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The French concept of natural rights had finally become human rights. So, in summary, at first, only a few lucky people had any rights, until one of those guys decided, hey, other people should have some rights too, which was great, except not everyone agreed. And it only took a few thousand years of fighting and declarations and more fighting until everyone finally agreed that human rights should apply to everyone. And they all lived happily ever after. Except for one little problem. If people have the right to food and shelter, why are 16,000 children dying of starvation every day? 1 every 5 seconds. If people have freedom of speech, why are thousands in prison for speaking their minds? If people have the right to education, why are over 1 billion adults unable to read? If slavery has truly been abolished, why are 27 million people still enslaved today? More than twice as many as in 1800. The fact is, when it was signed, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights did not have the force of law. It was optional. And despite many more documents, conventions, treaties, and laws, it's still little more than words on a page. So the question is, who will make those words a reality?
I have a dream today.
When Dr. King marched for racial equality, He was marching for rights that had been guaranteed by the United Nations for almost 2 decades. But still, he marched. When Nelson Mandela stood up for social justice in the 1990s, his country had already agreed to abolish such discrimination for almost 40 years. But still, he fought. Those who fight today against torture, poverty, and discrimination are not giants or superheroes. They're people. Kids, mothers, fathers, teachers, free-thinking individuals who refuse to be silent, who realize that human rights are not a history lesson. They're not words on a page. They're not speeches or commercials or PR campaigns. They are the choices we make every day as human beings. They are the responsibility we all share to respect each other, to help each other, and to protect those in need. As Eleanor Roosevelt said, where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places close to home. So close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Yet they are the world of the individual person, the neighborhood he lives in, the school or college he attends, the factory, farm, or office where he works. Such are the places where every man, woman, and child seeks equal justice, equal opportunity, equal dignity without discrimination. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere.
Completing the full set of materials is the Educator's Guide, which looks like this. This provides a full semester of lesson plans, essays, and homework assignments for youth. The Youth for Human Rights version is specifically aimed at grade and middle school students, while United for Human Rights is aimed at young adults, college-age students, and factually adults of any age group. Inside the United for Human Rights Guide, you will also find fact sheets, model petitions, and human rights abuse zones statistics. Above all, each curriculum is designed to elicit student response and participation, be it in middle schools, high schools, universities, or in the greater community. And in keeping with our audiovisual age, the entire curriculum is accessible online and can be downloaded or accessed on an iPad or Kindle. The entire kit is provided free of charge, and it can be ordered online for use by experienced educators and professionals dedicated to making human rights a fact. This is, after all, the sole purpose of United for Human Rights. We do believe we can make human rights a fact. And to that end, we have partnered with more than 1,000 organizations and government agencies across 80 countries. Throughout our network, there are thousands of individuals with unique stories of partnership and how they made the materials their own. To share one of those stories, it is my pleasure to introduce several guest speakers. Our first guest speaker joining us this afternoon is Miss Sanit, and she is Miss Africa USA. Please give her a warm welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. It has been a pleasure to join you for these last 3 days and be educated on all the different ways we can all advocate for equal human rights. It probably started around 2006 for me. After being the only sister among 3 brothers, I was blessed with another sister who had Down syndrome. I can say that I was a pretty regular child until she ignited something in me. From then on, I felt more in touch with my heart, and a human rights advocate within me was born. Since then, participating in human rights activities has been a pivotal part of my life, deeply rooted in the belief that every individual deserves dignity, respect, and the opportunity to thrive. Article 25 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights states that everyone has the right to a standard of living adequate for the health and well-being of themselves and their family. Guided by this principle, one of my most rewarding experiences began at the age of 18. I initiated and led a program that accommodated about 30 homeless children aged 2 to 17 twice a week for Bible study. This program aimed to provide these children with not only education and recreational activities, but also a sense of community and belonging. After becoming Miss Africa USA, I became a vocal advocate for breast cancer awareness, advocating for the right to be informed and receive timely medical intervention. In 2023, I served as the ambassador of the African Women's Cancer Awareness Association in honor of my late mother. However, as Miss Africa, my platform was education for special needs. Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which we can find in these papers, states that education shall be directed to the full development of human personality and to the strengthening of respect for human rights and fundamental freedoms. So education is not only learning about math, physics, literacy, it's also about creating that personality that is appropriate for living in society. I believe that's exactly what my platform is about, designing for diversity. Its main focus is advocating for better education for children with special needs. It doesn't leave other children out, but rather helps them grow into individuals who respect others and their rights. Science shows that children adapt better at a younger age than when they are older. Therefore, my whole purpose with my platform is to someday have a school where children with special needs are included in mainstream classrooms with other children. This will allow the other children to learn at an early age to adapt to the differences in everyone. That way, as they grow up, they can learn to include people who look like their peers in school and create an environment where differently able people are welcome to work and live in society. Before I end my speech, I would like to thank Beth and Fraser Mansion, Church of Scientology in Washington, D.C., for collaborating with me to organize a fundraiser to introduce my platform and buy educational tools for children with special needs that I've been working with individually. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope to continue advocating for human rights together with all of you. Together we can make a big difference.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sunny. The next guest speaker I would like to introduce today is Mr. Harold D'Souza with Eyes Open International. He is the co-founder and president, and he has been working very closely with us, and you will recognize him from the panel yesterday, so I'd like to welcome him now.
Greeting friends, but first and foremost, thank you Emma, the most glamorous, gracious lady. I want to share a secret about Emma and me, that she called me last week and said, Harold, I want you to be the moderator at the UN. And she told me, I like the subject, Youth for Human Rights in Action. I believe in action. And believe me friends, never in my life I have moderated any event. I've been on panels, I've been as a keynote speaker, and she said, I told her honestly, Emma, I've not been a moderator, and she told me very confidently, Harold, you can do it. You have the talent. And she gave me the courage. She gave me the hope. But what I'm trying to share, friends, is that the youth can give courage, be a mentor, an inspiration to adults like me and all of us. So if you see anybody adult, give them hope. Just because you think, oh, I'm 16, 17, I cannot give an advice to a 50-year-old or 60-year-old. No, just go for it. Yeah. Helen Keller truly said, the best and most beautiful things in the world cannot be seen or touched, but felt by heart. But today, I want to confess one thing, that the world's best and most beautiful things in the world can be seen, can be touched, can be felt. And that's my dear friend, Mother Mary. And this I say from my heart. I told you that I'm a common man, I'm a failure, but from today onwards, I don't think so I'm a sinner. I've been forgiven. Of all my sins. I just want to inspire all of you that how I got inspired with Youth for Human Rights. I am educated from India. I did my master's in marketing management. I did my post-graduation diploma in human resource development. I did my bachelor in law, that is labor law. And I came to the US when I was 37 years old, happily married, having 2 kids, 4 years and 7 years old. There are a lot of delegates here from India, Pakistan, different countries. In India, growing up as a child, even till today, it's every man's dream to go to the United States of America. They say it is like going to Swarg. Swarg is a Hindi language. Swarg means heaven. Swarg means paradise. So with that passion, I came to the US, but ended up being a victim of human labor trafficking and debt bondage. I never knew anything of human trafficking. I didn't know what was slavery. I didn't know anything till many years we went through hell. There is a documentary coming by Martin Sheen, who is the Hollywood actor. He's the executive producer. Benjamin Ryan Nathan is the producer director. And after getting involved in the human rights, I'm very passionate that to tell Martin Sheen and Benjamin Ryan Nathan, when they're doing a documentary on labor trafficking, to incorporate the human rights and how labor trafficking victims always believe that survivors should be thrivers. And that is what I'm trying to do. So when I came here, and then when I was told by the FBI agent and everybody, the NGOs, that you're a victim of human trafficking. And I couldn't understand. I said, what are they telling me? I didn't understand that. But eventually when I got connected, I still remember in Columbus, I was doing a presentation. And I think human rights had a table, I think, of Scientology. And I interacted with some delegates. And they heard my presentation. They took the initiative to contact me. And after they contacted me, I met them, I think, 1 million times. And that is where they educated me about human rights. And that is where I got more empowered. I didn't know that I was born free and equal, Article 1. I didn't know Article 2, like no discrimination, right? Article 4, no slavery. Article 5, no torture. I remember all the 30 articles. But the more I read, the more I understand, the more I practice, that gives me power, that gives me strength. So today, I can stand in front of anyone and talk. She just told me before the event, I heard, will you talk? I didn't know. I was not prepared. So I don't think so you have to be prepared. My kids used to go to Boy Scout. I never went to Boy Scout. And there's a term, be prepared.
Yeah.
Right? So how does that be? That we all should be prepared. You see something on the streets, you see anybody anywhere, just be prepared. Just tell them. I'm very happy with your presentation, like you said, So everything is possible. So whenever I go, right now on this world, when I do presentations, I never used to dress like this. I was very shabby, very ugly. I was so demotivated, depressed, because my trafficker always told me that you are hopeless, you are useless, good for nothing. I was like a trash can. And that went into my mind, body and soul. So every victim you see, or every vulnerable population, you do not understand what he or she has gone through. Just because they are smiling, they are wearing a good clothes, but there is a scar inside. That's why I say that trauma has no expiration date. One smile one shake hand, one hug, one kind word makes that person feel so good. It does not cost you anything. One smile does not cost you anything, but that smile will make a change in the life of that person. We'll remember lifelong. Oh, that person touched me. When I was touched first time by an American lady, she held my hand. Harold, your story should be on Oprah. And I didn't know anything. Let us see, I didn't know anything. So I come home and I tell my wife. I'm from Mangalore, South Karnataka. We eat a lot of copra. Copra is that coconut, right? So breakfast, lunch, dinner. I said, I know copra. What is this copra? Yeah, serious. I didn't know. I'm from India. I never watched like things from a village where we take a running water, electricity. Then she said, Oprah, Oprah. I said, no. Then she said, Oprah Winfrey. I met her. But what I'm trying to say that many times we assume that he or she knows everything. We don't know. So you have to educate people. But anyway, I said when she was telling, I said she touched me because my perpetrator is to always like abuse me and like a brown skinned guy, right? So these are certain small things can change the life of a victim and bring smiles, joy. And wherever I go today, I always carry my father's photograph, right? In 1957, my dad used to sleep on Daboi, that's a small village in Gujarat, on the railway platforms, right? In the morning, he used to take a shower at the waiting room and he was a train conductor. But today, his son stands here in the United States of America. Thank you. So it is his blessings of each one of you. So whenever I go anywhere, I always carry on the other side the Youth for Human Rights. It's always there. Be prepared. I do food drives in Cincinnati. I fill my car with food. Like I saw this video, you all saw kids. I can't see that. It breaks my heart. I feel that no human being, especially child, should not go hungry in this planet. Everyone should get food. So I carry food in the car. I carry a full box of this booklet. I put it in the car and then I distribute food at the traffic light. I go to these vulnerable populations and I give them this booklet. It's just about satisfaction. It is about humanity. And that means a lot. So you all, I said, are getting millions of blessings from each and every one. When you touch somebody's heart, you might forget that person, but that individual will never ever forget till he closes his eyes or dies. So in the meantime, I just want to thank everyone. I think there's Raphael. I think the photographer was Simon. Is it Simon? His name is Seaman. Did I pronounce her name right? Simon, I know that lady. Simona. So a lot of people have contributed a lot. Right? So I always believe that the way you all have the teamwork, like Mariana, Santiago, like the way you all work as a team. Like Yes. Inspiring you, moving to Australia with his wife, and I know I met Rahul from Nepal. Is Rahul here? Oh yeah, see, Rahul. Each one of you are doing amazing work. I just can't take everybody's name. I know Maggie is here. Like I was saying, the way you all welcome me. Brian, I don't know if Brian is here, who picked me up. He's and the way you all provided breakfast, offered me. I told my wife I'm spoiled. I got everything at my steps. So, thank you very much for inviting survivors. I think this means a lot to me and to other people. I was not talking for 10 years, friends, you don't believe it. I lost my voice, my courage, my hope and freedom. And how I lost that? One fine day, I'll just give you an example, is that my trafficker told me Harold, that time I was not called Harold. How things changed. In United States of America, even today, labor trafficking happens here in the entire US. And traffickers use 4 words to foreign nationals. Number 1, I'll get you arrested. Number 2, I'll get you handcuffed and they do by action. You want to get handcuffed? Number 3, I'll get you jailed. And number 4, I'll get you deported. No human being on this planet would like to hear these 4 words. Immigrants come here, foreign nationals come here. I think I met this lady right from Jamaica. So we have come here for a better future. But we are not criminals. Right? But that scares you. That is how they scare you. So I was scared that Americans don't like us. And then my nickname, was, used to always snap his finger like this and say, hey, illegal, come here. So my nickname was illegal. And that is how they call him today. If they meet any foreign nationals, hey, you illegal, you come to me, I will hand you a paperwork. They can identify. If a girl is on the street, there's a research done in so many hours she'll be picked up by the trafficker. So same way they can identify you today. And that is what they do. And we get scared. So by doing this human rights, we should know what is happening in reality of human labor trafficking. So I'll not take much of your time. I just want to say thank you very much. All in that I'll say, keep smiling, keep shining, keep sailing, keep succeeding, and keep saving survivors all over the world. God bless America. God bless you for human rights. God bless Mother Mary. And please pray for me and my family. Thank you very much.
So our next guest speaker is from the Gambia, and his work has resulted in positive change in his country. Please welcome Famara Jonet.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so excited to be speaking here today to share our story, our work, the work that we do back home in the Gambia. I was saying to a colleague from the Gambia yesterday that I was part of the panel, and then I don't have the opportunity to share our work. And when I was approached by her today that I was going to be given the platform to discuss and share our work, I was very much excited about that. Some of you who might be familiar with the Gambia is one of the smallest countries. In fact, it's the smallest country in mainland Africa. And growing up in the Gambia at the time when we had dictatorship, 22 years of dictatorship, and I had first-hand experience of how human rights violations were taking place in communities across the Gambia. And in year 2000, we had this infamous student demonstration where so many students were killed. And I was one of the participants at the time. And I think that was an aha moment for me to stood up for human rights. And I formed my own non-profit organization. I call it Bekanya. It's a local language in the Gambia. It means we are all equal in rights. And while we advocate for human rights, in communities across the Gambia, I also realized that there was a need to also arm myself with the human rights knowledge. Because like I said the other day, you can only teach people about something if you know it yourself. So you want to go in for human rights education and advocacy and standing up for people's rights, you need to make some research yourself and arm yourself with human rights knowledge. So while searching for organizations across the world that are really promoting human rights education, I came across United for Human Rights online. And I sent them an email, I think it was Ruslan, who actually responded. I don't know if he's around. I ordered the materials. And when I got these materials, I shared it with my team. And we started establishing human rights clubs in schools across the Gambia, reaching out to authorities in the Gambia. And it was as a result of my contact with United for Human Rights for the first time that we organized the work for human rights in Gambia in 2012. At the time in the Gambia, it was so difficult to openly advocate for human rights under former President Yahya Jammeh dictator. So we successfully organized the first human rights work in the streets of the Gambia with support and guidance from United for Human Rights. After then, we continue to receive these materials from United for Human Rights, and we established now, initially we started with only 10 schools. And today, like I said yesterday, our programs cover 55 schools across the country, but we are now working in all the regions of the Gambia, all the service administrative systems of Ghana. We go to schools and teach kids about their rights, go to police stations and educate police officers about human rights issues, but also go to prisons and across the country engage the stakeholders. And we don't just stop at educating people about their rights, but now organization has become one reference point for victims of human rights violations. When people feel like their human rights have been violated, one organization that comes to mind is our organization. Whether we call the police stations or I decided to appear at the police station myself, trust me, they will release the person if the person is just arrested unlawfully. And this is great work because of the team that I have. It's not just only me, I cannot do it alone. So I think this work that we're doing, essential, is all about passion. And we are inspired by the work of Dr. Mary. I remember when she came to the Gambia, our president of the Republic informed her how our organization is changing narratives in the Gambia with regards to human rights education in schools and communities. So we are very much grateful to you, Dr. Mary. Our organization, under my leadership, want to rebuild human rights culture in the Gambia. Before 1994, when we had the coup d'etat, Gambia used to be a beacon of hope in terms of human rights and democracy in Africa. And that is why we still have the African Commission on Human and People's Rights situated in the Gambia. But after 22 years, Gambians were not enjoying their human rights again. And our task as an organization is to rebuild that human rights culture that Gambians were used to. Because at the time of the dictatorship, freedom of expression was a big problem. You dare not to talk certain things about the government to even your family members without looking your back. But today, people in the Gambia can confidently express themselves. They can say anything that they like using the media. Thanks to the great work of our organization and many other civil society organizations. So I mentioned yesterday about the work that we do with regards to FDMC and also about child marriage and gender-based violence. Female genital mutilation. I'm sure it's not common in some of your countries, but this is very common in Africa, especially in the Gambia. It's a very bad practice that definitely they do to women and girls as young as 2 weeks old. It's very horrible. And I mentioned also about the attempt to repeal the law yesterday, but thank God we still have the law in place. If we do it, we go again. Having this law does not happen overnight. It took concerted efforts by our organization and all other human rights organizations in the Gambia, engaging stakeholders and members of the parliament. Because religious leaders believe that FDM is religious injustice. It is not true. So it took us a lot of energy and time to engage all stakeholders, especially members of parliament. And thank God now we have the law, but that's not enough. Somebody said it yesterday. Having law is not enough in itself alone. We need to educate communities about this law and the implications of violating the law. And that is the next step of our organization. Shortly before I arrived here, we launched a program that is to reach out to 50 communities in the Gambia, teaching communities about the effects of FDM. And I hope that we will continue to collaborate with more communities to end totally the practice of FGM in the Gambia and across Africa. But finally, I just want to say thank you to Youth for Human Rights International for the opportunity. I was just telling Amma earlier on, because I was wondering, I don't know how the work would have been for us without coming into contact with Youth for Human Rights International. So we are grateful for the opportunity and the materials that you continue to provide to us, as it helps us in our advocacy. I always tell my colleagues that one of the most important tools and resources that we have is these materials from Youth for Human Rights International. It's not about the card that you have, it's these materials that you have. And we continue to distribute these materials to schools and communities across the Gambia. And today, as a result of that, our organization, the Kenyan and Youth for Human Rights, the Gambia, is one of the leading human rights organizations in the Gambia, thanks to the support of Youth for Human Rights. We are grateful. Thank you for your support.
That was incredible. Thank you very much. So I would like to play a video, actually, about Nfumara's story, just so you can see the full scope and the impact that his work has had. So here we go. This is Voices for Humanity, Nfumara Janet.
They're taking the challenge of making our world better and, of course, taking care of the environment. Gotta let you go.
My name is Mbamba Jaune. I'm the founder of the Kenyan. In English, it means equality for all.
We should all be treated with dignity. You have to respect all the 30 attributes, all the 30 rights.
The Gambia is the smiling coast of Africa, we call it, simply because the people are very friendly, very hospitable. People are always smiling wherever you meet them. But anywhere dictatorship exists, there are bound to be gross human rights violations.
Once the longest-running democracy in Africa, the Gambia now holds one of the worst human rights records in the continent. Arbitrary arrests, brutal torture, and complete suppression of freedom of speech have left the nation shattered and the population living in fear.
So our objective is to provide human rights education to every human being in Gambia to ensure a just society where everyone's right is respected irrespective of who you are.
Yes. No.
I was born in a village called Barokunda. As a young man, I live with my family here. This is one of the streets that me and my friend used to play. community has really offered a lot to me despite the circumstances and limited resources. It offered me a lot of opportunity to be who I am today. In a big family like ours, no one was going to school at the time. And there was this particular day when the headmaster came to our compound. They all seated playing on the floor. And they said, "Who is interested in going to school?" I said, I raised up my hand. I said, I'm interested if I have the opportunity. And all the rest, no one raised their hand. And that's how I got the opportunity to be sent to school. This used to be my class, actually. I've been spent here 3 good years. I've met so many students from diverse backgrounds, from different communities. So that made this school very, very unique. Later on, because of my performance in school, I had the opportunity to have some scholarships to come to the city and with my education. In 1994, young soldiers took over through a coup d'etat that brought in the dictatorship.
Since leading the coup that put him in power, dictator President Yahya Jammeh's regime has become what amounts to a false democracy, with rigged elections, endemic corruption, and ruthless suppression of dissidents.
The dictatorship gave rise to all these right violations. And this was the time when we had infamous student demonstration in this country, when scores of students were killed, they were massacred.
This is the Westfield Banjul Highway. It's a very popular and well-known area. Anytime we have demonstrations in the Gambia, this place used to be filled with people. This is the exact location that the students gathered on that fateful day of April 10th, year 2000. So demand that the rights of every citizen is respected, especially the right of freedom of assembly is respected in this country. And as a result of that, the soldiers fired live ammunition at them, and over a dozen of students were killed.
As a member of that student body, I was very mad about this incident, knowing fully very well that no one morally should take anyone's life. So that served as an aha moment for me to stand firm for the respect of the fundamental rights of every young person in this country. And since then, I have been very vocal as a professional journalist. At some point, I was deputy editor-in-chief of one of the daily newspapers called The Point, using that medium to advance human rights, speak for the voiceless. I started giving radio interviews, newspaper interviews, television interviews, bringing right abuses and injustice in our community to the limelight. Top journalists in this country experienced a lot of problems during the past week. There was a day I came to work, I received a call from the office that the state secret agents were at the office waiting for me. And therefore, if I don't want to get arrested and find myself in prison or killed, I should stay away from the office. That alone to me was a challenge, because if you're not allowed to freely express yourself, to educate people and do your campaign, and you are being monitored, this is a problem.
James. Welcome to my country, my friends. I am right. You? What do you think you are? I am right. I am right. Only right you have. Yeah. Ready? 1, 2.
national intelligence officers were observing every critical person of the government suppressed the media, suppressed the citizens, made the Gambia a police state. They had an easy ride of violating people's rights. I know that somebody somewhere has to speak. Otherwise, they will continue to violate people's rights. So I decided to establish the Kenya organization. The Kenya. It's about seeking equal opportunities for everybody. I started with volunteers. And one day, I Googled organizations promoting human rights in the world. And I came in contact with For Human Rights International, and I saw the website, all what they were doing, and somewhere at the bottom I saw you can order for free materials. I said, wow, free materials at no cost. Then I went right away straight, I ordered for the materials. So on that fateful day, I received a telephone call from the post office informing me that my materials have arrived. I was so excited. It's like, you don't know me. I've never seen me before. And now I ordered this. This is real, huh? This is true. So with those materials, we go to the village, interact with the women and youths and vulnerable groups, educating them about their rights. And as a result of that, we start growing in numbers and in size, covering from my village. It was started so entire districts. And later on, start visiting schools in large numbers. We'll go to the school, meet the headmaster, and then they will call the student population to the assembly hall to come and listen to me and my team about the importance of respecting each other's rights.
You can only claim your right if you know it. You can only defend the right that you know it belongs to you. After the Second World War in 1948, world leaders gathered at the United Nations in New York and they drafted this document called the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. So we have 30 articles in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
And this will be followed by the distribution of human rights materials.
And so you please read the booklet. Therefore, when I give you the booklet, you need to open the booklet and read it because it's sensitive for you.
We're here at Charles Down Memorial Academy, one of the schools that we've been working with to promote human rights education in schools. It's a center of excellence. We'll be discussing about the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, the 30 articles that are contained in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, so that students can know their rights and the rights of other people as we try to build the culture of human rights in this country.
We are all born free and equal. Because we are all born free and equal, we all know our own thoughts and our own ideas.
We're going to implement this rights that we're talking about if we are not responsible enough to respect these rights. So whatever it is, be responsible for whatever our actions are.
When you are armed with the right information and knowledge, you can impact that into society. You can discuss it with your parents, your friends at home, and your neighbors. So for you, grade 5.
Nobody has anywhere to work with all the time.
If you come to school, you know that when you come, your teachers will torture you. Do you like to come to school? No. Can we have a volunteer for other activities? Yes.
We all have the right to life and to live together and safe.
Let's clap for her.
In the African society, we believe that as young children, they can learn at a very tender age. If they have the basic knowledge about human rights at this level, they'll be able to achieve a lot from it.
So I will go to those schools and give these lectures, And until such a time that we've been able to cover a good number of schools in the provinces. Students, and it makes people feel that we are protected. We are human beings and our rights wherever we go are protected and that nobody can take them away from us.
He was so powerful and he was so happy to explain all these 30 rights and responsibilities that each and everyone have. So it's something that is always in my heart and I always think about it. It starts as a motivation to me.
If people's rights are observed, if people's rights are recognized, you will not be able to tamper with someone else's rights, and we can be able to eradicate or eliminate such in our community and at the country at large.
At the same time, we started initiating radio programs.
Human rights applies to everyone, irrespective of who you are and where you go. We need to defend our rights and go together accountable.
Newspaper publications, television programs, adding our voice to bring human rights education to all people.
Every human being is entitled to 30 rights.
Because everyone rise up. They don't just rise up one day. So the moment they all become aware of this, right, one day they say enough is enough. So we can do significantly to change the regime in this country to get rid of dictators.
For the first time in 22 years, the Gambia has elected a new president, ushering in what promises to be a new era of democracy in the West African nation.
So after that, then we had to change the government. I had the opportunity to meet Dabo, the executive director of the Gambia National Youth Council, and we signed a memorandum of understanding. And since then, we have access to schools across the country. School development in this country. But I started realizing the work at the time was too much, was big, so I need others to also come and believe in my vision and become responsible future leaders of this country.
I think the curiosity just builds up naturally. What actually is Scientology?
We want to provide human rights education to every Gambian. So as the campaign intensifies, I said, what is more sustainable is to have structures in the schools. So I established human rights clubs in schools across the country, bringing human rights and education to the people.
Now it is our responsibility to ensure that we respect each other's rights. As members of the Human Rights Club, we have a challenge to become advocates of tolerance and champions of human rights.
Most schools have started requesting, even before we read them, to go and establish Human Rights Club in their schools.
We are here today at St. Peter's Technical Senior Secondary School in Lameng, in the West Coast region of the Gambia, to inspire them to become advocates of tolerance and human rights in their community.
The community, more Gambians, more communities. So we don't stop at going to schools now. No, it's beyond that. I travel with my team to the farmlands.
Today we are visiting this groundnut field here in the community of Uloro to talk to farmers about human rights and then also give them human rights materials, especially the booklets, so that they can also understand their rights and the rights of others. Because as farmers, they have rights like anyone else.
We go through the course. We go to rice fields. Anywhere that we can meet people, we educate them about their rights. Because we feel like we can't leave anyone behind. Everyone has to be involved. We also engage policymakers, the ministers, the directors, the municipal authorities. Talk to them about respect for human rights. And as a result, boom, the name can become a household name in the Gambia. We go to the president at the highest level, and I remember the president told my delegation that he's fully aware of the work that I have been doing in this country, and he's so grateful that I'm doing just what I'm doing, and he encouraged me to keep up the momentum. Now the government and the people. So human rights abuses and violations are becoming lesser and lesser in our society, thanks to the support of the human rights.
I think farmer rights has set the direction that this society needs to realize your worth as a human being, as the first step to therefore defend that dignity that you have and defend the dignity of the other. And it is that process that will help to build or nurture democratic culture. It's helping the Gambian young people to understand
What do you mean by human rights? Creating a brighter society, a society that tomorrow, at the end of the day, will be able to respect one another, have regard for one another, live.
Pamara and take Kenyan took it to the next level, ensuring that every young person in this country actually benefit from the information, the messages, and the human rights educations on the use for human rights. Also,
from a humble beginning, when I started reaching out to few people to know their rights, now hundreds of thousands of people who can now confidently stand and champion their own rights, we have a very big movement in this country. The difference here is that knowledge is power, and for me that is ultimate in changing lives and livelihoods and make the Gambia bigger of hope to regards to promotion and protection of human rights in the West African sub-region.
Thank you very much, Tamara. It's a perfect example of what can be done with just one person creating a whole movement. So I encourage you to do the same and take action, starting with finding out how you can receive our materials. We're happy to help you, and we'll be standing by if you need any help and assistance after this. I would like to, in conclusion, turn over the mic to Dr. Mary Shuttleworth. Please welcome her.
Thank you so much. Wow, what a 2 days we've had here. Fantastic. Yes, exactly. Where's our translator? Okay, good. Stand by. Yeah. Okay, so where do we start? We had the panelists, professors from universities, United Nations officials, amazing action people. The panels were amazing. The youth panel was incredible. I mean, I really don't think I have to reiterate. And I must add, I'm a teacher, so I want to know. And I've been going around, what did you enjoy? What did you like? And of course, everybody loved everything. But there was one resounding response, just kept popping up. And oh, it's really good. They loved hearing from the youth. Whether it was the youth panel or the individual presentations that you did. Oh my goodness, you had tears. Okay. I mean, so I just want you to know that the response I got, as much as they really appreciated the people with lifetimes of experience, they really wanted to hear from you. And they really appreciated hearing from you. So give yourselves a hand. So, I go around the world and I meet lots of people, and you have to come to the summit. So last night I was meeting with a delegation from Japan. Is the delegation from Japan here? Mio. Yes, please stand up. Please stand up. We are so good. And they do amazing work in Japan, just like all of you in your areas. But because they hadn't come to the international summit as a team, because we've had a representative, but as a team they came and they went, wow, this is a whole new world. We are a huge human rights family. So what I'm going to do next is present 2 awards. Now believe me, when you think about who to award, just look at what we just looked at. I would say there's a few awards we can present here, just for the people in this room, and that's not even our whole human rights family. The decision was tough, it was hard, so we came down to 2 awards. And I want you to listen carefully to the stories of the awards, and it's very specific, because this year we were looking at expansion. I'm a little old lady with gray hairs and a very proud grandmother, but alone doesn't matter the vision, doesn't matter the passion, doesn't matter how many 24 hours I want to work. It's not possible alone. But together, we can make a huge impact. So the first person that I would like to bring to the stage is somebody who actually has been following us since 2008 and came to the first international summit in 2008. Rod Sash went back to his country, continued in his country, teaching human rights here, teaching human rights there. He's a lawyer. Teaching human rights, teaching human rights. Eventually he realized that he cannot reach the indigenous community because they have a local language. Some of them speak French, but not all of them. So he took the Youth Human Rights booklet and he translated it into Bamako. That is the traditional language for Mali. He translated that booklet. Why? Because he wants to reach the individual people. Imagine working together, creating teams. He translated the booklet, keep coming to the summit, keep being inspired, keep continuing. And then he started reaching to other countries. Burkina Faso, I keep saying it wrong. Cote d'Ivoire, Uganda, am I right? Those are the countries, and of course Mali. So what I'm saying is this very first person we're going to acknowledge is a person who not only cared so passionately about his own country, but he realized that the people in his country cannot speak French. Okay? And I know many of you have the same situation, these indigenous communities. We need to reach them, they need to know their human rights. Anyway, so I would like to present this award to a dear friend, a lawyer, and a loyal Youth for Human Rights supporter, a long time. Okay? Kabin Dumbia, please join
I had no words. I didn't know this was happening. I'm taking a little bit aback, but I'm very grateful for Youth for Human Rights for all these years. We started this journey together in 2010. And then started to work even closer together on 2014. And then it was very hard for me to keep coming back in 2015, 16, and 17. And then I decided after the pandemic I had to come back to New York. Human rights are for everyone. This is my message to you. Thank you to you.
So you know I like to add these little stories, right? So I don't speak French. But like, who knows? So there's this amazing person who speaks French and a little bit of English. I speak no French. So our relationship, our entire communication has to go through Switzerland with Marcella. And I say, please explain this to him. All right, what does he say? All right, I'm going to tell him this. So it's a through translation thing. Congratulations again. The next award is literally a continued message from the summit. So there's working like Mara in his country, of course. Then there's expanding to additional countries, like Kabim. And then there's forming collaborations among countries, into regions. Who can work with whom? Because you have common cultures, you have common accesses. And the next team, I'm going to tell you very briefly about these people. We've been working together since 2004. I do not want them to come up until, because they'll know who I'm talking about very quickly. I want them to all just wait, and then when I finish telling the story, I like it. I'm a teacher, I like to talk. Yeah? So when I finish telling about the stories, we'll welcome them all together and present them with their awards. And again, they have no idea. So, we started in 2001, started using human rights, continuing, developing the materials very slowly. Okay, we need the materials, so there's a booklet. Okay, so now, let's get some videos going and what have you. And I very quickly realized, this ain't going to go anywhere unless we do this globally. And if we have to do this globally, I better go. And so in 2004, I did the very first world tour. One of the countries I traveled to had literally just